a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor, so wake up and hear me neighbor.
Yes, folks, we're back again, and this is a continuation of the series Beneath the Surface, coming to you from the studios of Tobago Update Television, and we're located in Portmore in Scarborough, on the greatest little island on the planet. We call that place Tobago. All right, and I just love this phrase or this catchphrase or this thing, the best or the greatest little island on the planet. And let me introduce my guest properly before we get into that, because I know Faith will have a lot of things. Faith, welcome to the program again, and I'm always happy to have you on having these discussions with you on or off the air.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. It's an honor being here.
Yeah. But let us get straight into it. We have a little extra time this morning, but the amount of things that I think we could talk about there, I know we wouldn't have enough time. So we're going straight into it. Tell us a little bit about your early childhood. Well, first to begin, how are you managing in your responsibilities as Assemblyman and as persons with responsibility in the Tobago House of Assembly, as Secretary for Health, Wellness and
Social protection.
Social protection. How are you managing those two portfolios?
Well, it's actually three. It's actually three now. So it's the Assemblyman, Belgarden Glamorgan. Good morning, Belgarden Glamorgan. It is the Secretary for Health, Wellness and Social Protection, and of course Deputy Chief Secretary, which means quite a bit in the Tobago
yes, that is quite true.
As well. Yes. How am I managing? I actually think I am doing pretty well. I have been trying to figure out how to balance my time and balance ensuring that I take some personal time for myself when necessary. I keep telling people that 95, 98, possibly 99% of the time I absolutely love all of my jobs. And then there is that 1% or 2% of the time that I think, oh, I'm tired of all here. But that is life. That is how human beings are. That is part of how we are as human beings. And of course, when those times come around, I say to myself, okay, Faith, what do you need to recharge? What do you need to get back to the 95% or the 99% of absolutely loving this job?
I hear you just throw a little coffee, a good bit of coffee, and a little bit of water, and just drink it.
Well, that is not even that is my every morning story. That is a normal part of. I must admit I do have one addiction, and it is to coffee. I do not.
But I hear you just throw a little bit of water.
Yeah, because it really is caffeine. If I could find a way to just get the caffeine into my system, I don't like the taste of coffee. I don't like the smell of coffee. None of that. It is literally for the drug caffeine to get it into my system so that I could go. I have tried functioning without caffeine. I am not a nice person when I don't have caffeine. So I ensure that I have it every morning. So yeah, that's a normal part of it. But other than that, I spend time just like resting and sleeping and watching TV. I watch quite a bit of TV when I need to, de-stress and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Something close to me, but not so much coffee. Yeah. But you've been doing quite well. How you cope in your area, or your representative, being the representative for that area?
Well, that I think may be possibly the most challenging part of it, because a lot. So I am one of those people who need things to get done and need them to get done when they need to get done. And fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the things that are the absolute requirements for my district are, for example, infrastructural works. And when you have an entire island filled with infrastructural needs, for example, as much as I would love for my colleague, Mr. Trevor James, to focus on Belgarden Glamorgan, he simply can't. He does not have the resources to do that. So I have learned that we kind of have to wait, things get done. I do, for example, a couple weeks ago, there was an area that has several potholes, and when you're driving in those areas, you're bracing yourself to drop down in the pothole because there's a kind of around a corner, there's no other way, and I braced myself to drop down in the pothole, and I realized, wait, the pothole fix? What is this? So it's little things like that that makes it, like, okay, and I actually call him like, thanks for fixing them potholes in Robert Street. Thank you. But I recognize that so many of those things, we really have to balance it throughout the island, which means my district alone can't get fixed. So, and I'm really saying that to the residents in the area, we are getting to you. You would recognize that there are some things that have been fixed. There are things that still need to be fixed, but that is just part of us trying to balance the resources on the island.
Okay, we want to talk a little more about that a little later and how you function in your responsibility. But we want to have an idea, your background in terms of how you grew up and your childhood and teenage years. All the assemblymen seem to have that interesting part of them that makes the story so well and so interesting, I should say.
Well, I was born and raised in Bell Garden. My I came from a teaching family, so my mother was a teacher, my grandmother, my aunts, my great aunt. So I came from a family of teachers. So I went into preschool very early, my mother's preschool, because I went in when I was 2, when everybody else can't, but it's your mommy's school, so you're going when you're 2 kind of thing. Went to Bell Garden, Anglican, which were amazing years, and then went to Roxborough Secondary, and it's one of the things I am very proud about. I am one of those students who went to Roxborough Sec when they were during that year, during zoning. So it really didn't matter what your scores were because you live up so you go to school up there. And I must say that it really showed me that once a school is given the resources to do what it needs to do, then the school can produce. Because practically all of us who were in that year group, we have been successful, which shows that there is nothing wrong with Roxborough Sec because they didn't bring in new teachers or new anything like that. It was the same teachers who were there working with the students. They just sent in a crop of students that did not need as much remedial work as the other students that have been going to the school need. And we've all come out, I actually think, pretty well, pretty decent. And I'm very proud to tell people that, when I go to schools, like I do the before C, well, it was Common Entrance my day. I go around to the schools and I remind them that the students who are in that C class, that the C exam that you are getting is the same C exam for the whole island. The CXC or the CSEC or whatever exam you get at the end of the 5-year period or the 6-year period in secondary school is the same exam as well. So whether you go to Roxborough, to Goodwood, to Bishops, to wherever, how you approach it, the fact that you do your work and so forth, at the end of it, you can come out like me with my 8 and 9 subjects having gone to Roxborough Sec, because it's the same exam that they gave the students who went to Scarborough Sec and Compre and wherever else. But it is up to you as a student, with your parents, with the support of your family, to make the best of it. And that is what I got. My mother was president of the PTA for the whole 4 years I was in Roxborough Sec. So I had no option. I remember going in and her telling the teachers, this is my daughter, I giving all your permission to beat she. That kind of thing. So you're going into it with that kind of supervision, with that kind of, this is all of us, all are we child kind of thing. And you must produce. And I think that is part of what we might be missing a little bit of now, that kind of involvement. And I actually
missing the kind of thing that we used to say it takes a village to raise
a child.
You lived it.
Exactly. And I also give the story about learning in my adult years that my mother did not, for example, understand maths and that kind of stuff, but she would make sure that when I came home, I had to show the grades, I had to show that I did well, I had to correct it and go back to school and bring it back, showing that it's corrected and so forth, not realizing that she didn't really understand any of that stuff. But the fact that she was there pushing made me know that I had to do it. And that is what I think a lot of our parents, you may not understand the work, that's fine, but you just need to be there and let the child know that
Provide
you
the
are
necessary
there.
support and
Provide the
encouragement.
support, the encouragement, and it will turn out pretty well.
And it has to do a lot with the temperament and the attitude of the student or the child itself, Some people could be influenced or follow bad company and so on, but then...
But I think though that has to do also with the I don't know that we really understand the power of our tongue and the power of when we say things to our children and when we pray certain things over our children. And when I say pray certain things, I don't necessarily mean going on your knees and praying. But when we speak certain things into the lives of our children, we influence them. I know that when I grew up, I kept hearing, you are a promise, you are a possibility, you are a promise with a capital P. I know that those things were over me. And I had no choice but to internalize and then express those things. So I'm saying to parents, sometimes we are the ones who say negative things about our children even as they're growing up. And then that is what they express, that is what they exude, that is what they internalize. So it's part of us. We also need to be very, very careful of the words we say to and about our children.
But you had other siblings competing for space and care and things?
I am my mother's only child. My father has several other children, but I am my mother's only child. So I grew up with my mom. I grew up with an extended family. So mom, aunts, uncles, grandparents, that kind of thing is how I grew up.
Around community kind of support as well?
Yes.
Or encouragement?
Certainly the encouragement of the end. So I could think of teachers from preschool, primary school, and so forth, who were part of that.
So you did a lot of your studies away from what I gathered?
Yeah, so after
out of the country.
After I went to Roxborough Sec, I went to sixth form in Compre, because Roxborough Sec didn't have a sixth form at that time. And then I decided that I wanted to become a medical doctor because really, at that time, the options are doctors, lawyers, that kind of thing is what you are pushed into. So I went to the United States. I was actually one of those Tobagonians who got a scholarship from the Tobago House of Assembly to go to the United States to study medicine. That was the original plan. I was
in that group as well. I think that really started
that was, I think Delmon Baker was also one of the students who may have gotten those scholarships, and there were a couple others.
So Dr. Duke was one of them?
Actually, yes. So it was during that, it was during the Hochoy Charles time, way back when. Okay, not so way back, I'm not that old. So the aim was to go, I went and I did my undergrad in neuroscience, the study of the brain and the nervous system and that kind of thing, because the idea was to become a neurosurgeon. And then I recognized that I did not particularly like medicine. I did not particularly like being in like the hospital with I think something about me, I don't like being around people who are sick. I don't function very well. I'm probably too empathetic. It brings me down kind of thing. So I then discovered what public health was. And then I realized that I could still do the health stuff without having to do the medicine stuff. So the clinical stuff. So medicine really has to do with one-on-one clinical, ensuring that people get well because they are sick, while public health has to do more with community health, ensuring that the community is well. And I know before my public health inspector, Mr. Bob, was here talking about the cleanup campaign and so forth that we're doing for Christmas and how that is linked to health. So that is what
particularly in primary health.
So it is all over. And that's the thing. Primary health is actually still quite a bit of clinical health. Primary health still has to do with the medicine part of it and so forth. Public health is everything else that ensures that we are healthy. So it includes, for example, picking up the garbage to ensure that we do not have rats and all of those things.
Clean water, general sanitation.
Exactly, going around ensuring that our food is safe and the things that when they go into the food establishments and shut it down on, all of that is public health.
That's correct.
So when I learned about what public health was, I recognized that I could still be a part of this bigger thing that I was thinking about, but I didn't know the words for when I left Tobago. And that allowed me to then get my master's in public health and then doctoral degree in public health in Pittsburgh.
Also, your PhD was in public health as well.
It's actually a DRPH. It's a Doctor of Public Health, and the only people who care are those of us with DRPHs because we know our degrees better than the PhDs. Literally,
DR means what?
so it's Dr. DRPH, Doctor of Public Health. So it's a DRPH is the actual.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, the only people who care are people with DRPHs.
Oh my goodness. All right. So let us get down to you. Every time I see you, you look younger than what you are. And I don't want to get to your age and so on, but is it a special exercise or diet that you practice generally?
No, and as a matter of fact, if I'm 100% honest, I have not been following exercise and my diet regimen as I need to over the last year at least. I think I just have a good heart. I think that I am a positive person generally, and I think that is what people see. So I can't say that I practice anything specifically. I think it's just I'm a good person and it comes out.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. Good to know. But we have to go for a break, and when we come back, we continue chatting with Dr. Faith B.Yisrael, of course, and she's the Secretary for Health, Wellness, Social Protection, and she's also the Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. And by the way, when we come back, we have to talk whether you have the portfolio of diaspora or something. We'll talk about that too when we come back from the break.
It's a brand. Hey. Tobago updates. Na, 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na, 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 na.
All right, guys, we back, viewers and you listeners out there. We hope you're having a great day. Just getting into the deep end of this Beneath the Surface program here with Faith. And Faith, diaspora I brought to my attention that ended up being part of your portfolio. How that is working out, if you could spend a few minutes on that, and what's the plan in terms of capitalizing and utilizing the service of the diaspora,
right?
Wherever they're located in whatever part of the world.
So yes, so under Deputy Chief Secretary, I am responsible for all of the functions that were under the previous Deputy Chief Secretary, which includes diaspora relations. It also includes foreign direct investment and that kind of thing. So we've actually been doing quite a bit of work in those areas. The thing about me and when I work, I like to show results. So we've been doing quite a bit of work in the background that we will release publicly shortly. Part of it is creating a diaspora kind of help desk so that anyone who is coming back home, we are working through for them the processes. So we will be launching, for example, a website shortly that gives you all of the information about if you're coming back home and you need to go to customs, this is the information you need to have. If you're coming back and you want to start a business, this is how you need to go through that process and that kind of thing, so that we make it easier. We also are about to roll out a project that it seeks to identify who our diaspora are. So that will be rolled out shortly, where people can come in and be a part of this larger process of saying, yes, I am Faith Aunt and I live in wherever, that kind of thing. So that is rolling out as well. Foreign investment is also the same way.
But before you get to foreign investment, just stick up in there. But what you're doing to make contact with the diaspora,
so all of that
at the present time,
so all
you're
of
networking,
so the idea, hold on,
database of
so the idea, and that is the thing. So all of that, so when I say we're working on that in the background, what you just said, it will be part of the it would be part of the rollout of those projects. So we're not just going out and saying the networking part would be part of the project that says you could say to me. So it's kind of like a family tree kind of thing that we want to build as well. So you can come in, and this is how we would know who you are, and then we could reach out to you and so forth after. So there's a full set of mechanisms that we are working to be able to launch that and to be able to do that effectively, and not just saying here, me saying, you know, we are reaching out, but we are going to set up a full database to allow you to be able to be a part of that in a strategic way. So that will be launched shortly.
I'm bombarded by people out there who want to give back, who want to serve, who want to invest, or people who have contact with other people who want to invest and do things in Tobago. It's a real task, you know. Sometimes I go to bed late, and they know I go late in the night, so people call me 10, 11 o'clock. You know, seriously, that's the time that I really have time, you know, to really deal with some of these issues.
And that actually dovetails into the other part of what is currently under Deputy Chief Sec, which is the foreign investment mechanism, because we are actually setting up a strategic mechanism where people know how to call you if they want to do it. But we would set up a system where we'll have a full clearinghouse. This is where you contact it. This is where we say, well, these are the areas that we want investment in, where we say, well, you know, if somebody's coming in with whatever money, we could double check to make sure that it is good, clean money that is coming in and that kind of stuff. So those mechanisms are also being set up at this moment to allow for us to do that kind of stuff.
I hope the help desk takes the form of like a one-stop shop.
In essence, that is what it would.
That is very, very key. We have to, the ease of doing business is what will determine whether these things are successful or not. And that is key. You don't want people to come here, put an application before this entity, and it has to go to this entity there and here, and then come back to these people before you get a response. These people ain't waiting on that, you know.
And that is why we're saying the mechanism is actually being put in place so that that kind of running around. One, we would have a clear understanding of what is actually needed, and then we can walk the person through the process, do it for them in some instances, depending on the situation.
And this is a key. It's interesting that you tell me about this now, because we were thinking of setting up a system where we break up all these diaspora personnel and experts that we have there into about 5 different sections so far. We try to work it out, you know, because people have health issues or health suggestions, health plans to come here and establish and set up or contribute. You know, so that is one area we were looking at. Another area of people who invested in, just interested in environment and not alternative energy. Where's the other one again? Renewable energy. Renewable energy. A lot of people just involved in that. They say that's the way forward and so on. You know, and on the other hand, there are people who just want to invest. People who are interested in putting on a marina. They have the resources. They have the idea. Some have the ideas. Some have the resources. You know, some of them looking for a nice place to put up something, you know. So we have these 5 areas that we're trying to set up the diaspora. So you Dr. So-and-so, you will fit into this area. You dealing with investment, you know, and we hope sometime in the near future, we bring in as much of these persons together, you know, and link them up virtually first. And then see what they have to offer, who have just thinking about it, others who have distinct plans, other people who want to know the wherewithal, how we could get here and do this project in a good time and don't waste my time.
Exactly.
You know, that's the big issue with some of these people. And you are amazed, you'll be amazed how many people call me. They have this thing to do. I have this airline I want to bring. I have these people who want to take. I have a programmer talking to Tesla. One of these things. Oh gosh, you should hear these people. And you know, up to last night, we talking about how we're going to put them in different structures and systems. You know,
don't worry, then, because that is what is being worked out. Because there are millions of people out there who want to do stuff. So what we have to do is really determine what our focal areas are and identify to them.
Where we focus and
this
where
is
we're
what we're focusing.
prioritizing,
This is our
the kind of
priority.
development.
Exactly. And then say, well, you can now come in if this is something you are interested in. This is how we can work it out. So that mechanism is actually being developed as we speak right now. So
Yeah. You must keep me informed about that, and don't
Certainly.
mind being involved in that kind of thing, because we're actually going to build on what we have been working on.
Certainly.
So we have nothing to lose. So that help desk is extremely important, and in identifying these returning residents or these persons who are
Well,
part of
they
the
may not
diaspora.
even want to return, and that's the thing. They may want to stay where they are and provide support in whatever mechanism they want to use that support. So it really is a way to identify who they are in terms of the family lineage kind of thing, but also who they are in terms of their technical capacity and where they have influence, because they may also just have influence to influence other people and pull from there. But we did not want to kind of jump out in a haphazard manner. If it's one thing, those who are around me know that I'm a very process person. So if we're doing it right. We're doing it in a
Who you have
strategic
part of this
mechanism.
team working on this?
So we actually have quite let me not say quite a number of people. There are several technical officers who are working under the office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, which includes the foreign investment area, the diaspora area. We have our communications people. So there's a full department. There's a full office staff that's pulling these things together.
And these are people on contract or public
Yeah,
service?
on contract.
Oh, excellent. I mean, nice. There's a way that you go. Another area is finance. A lot of people there.
Well, that is where the foreign investment part is, because the aim of foreign investment is looking for the money, looking for the money to do whatever we need them to do. So when we say how you can partner with us, some of it does include actually bringing your money to the table to do what we need to do, and how we
Sometimes
manage
partnering
that.
with the money that you have
Exactly.
to do it, because when you have a stake in the thing, you want to ensure that it's done
certainly.
well and at a high standard.
Certainly.
So that is a very important thing. So the public-private partnership system or approach is one that we should really encourage, and don't just expect people to just come here and just dump all the money in this thing and run it.
No. It is going to
There
be.
must be some
It
stake
is
that we have
going
in
to
it
be that.
as a
It's
people or as an institution.
certainly.
Yeah. I was very excited about this. I didn't know all of this was happening. I thought I myself try my thing with one or two people who I know, and they tell me about other people and burn it down my phone when the night come, and so on. But this is an interesting area, and I've been telling, and this is what a discussion that I plan to have with Fali, with the Chief Sec, about this actual investment and the opportunities and the interests, and the enthusiasm that people showing out there for this area.
Certainly. So it's part of the process that's happening. As I said before, I do not particularly like to the local parlance come and buff up my face and talk about things until we are ready to actually do them. So that is what we're doing, a lot of work in the background, and when we are ready to make announcements, to make public announcements and so forth, those will be made, and you'll be very surprised at the amount of work that we are actually doing in the background.
Keep me posted on that one, please. I'm begging you. Yeah, a lot of things need to be happening. A lot of people have ideas and more than ideas and plans and so on. But a major concern from the feedback, a major concern of these people, they are hearing about our poor work ethic on this island.
Yeah, well, that is something that is a something that needs to change, but it needs to be changed systematically. So you would hear the Chief Sec, for example, speaking about the fact that, and I'm sure Mrs. Williams or Sertica spoke about it, shifting how the public service works and doing additional training on how the public service works and so forth. You would also hear us talking about our drive for digitization, because that also is going to help in how slow or quickly something moves physically. So when you have to actually find a file versus do it digitally, that changes, or that shifts how it functions and that kind of thing. I need to remind myself though, and actually one of the administrators that worked with me within the Division of Health some months ago had to remind me that the ideas that we have and the mandate that we've come in with, they are good, they are great, they are lofty, but we have to be continually reminded that some of the people who we've met in the system are not thinking exactly like that. So we have to figure out how to bring them along. And we can't just run straight ahead because we are going to leave a whole lot of people behind and then we will get frustrated. It was one of those moments where she was telling me, Faith, you need to learn a little bit of patience and you need to figure out how to bring all of us along with the vision that you have. And part of the workforce thing is getting people to the point where they do want to work. So I tell a lot of people that I actually spend the first year of being a Secretary for Health, for example, just sitting and chatting with the employees, working with them, recognizing that a lot of them are burnt out, a lot of them are just tired, a lot of them have literally been abused by previous secretaries and assistant secretaries and that kind of thing. So my social workers, for example, they came to me, I was like, well, what do you all want to do? Let's do spa days. Let's do, we've been doing stuff like that to get people to the point of saying, yes, we're working together, we're doing this together. I have actually been going to all of the different units and saying, okay, tell me what exactly is the problem. And you recognize that there are teeny weeny little things that are causing the bottlenecks and causing the holdups and that kind of stuff, and then we would design a system to treat with those things. It is not perfect yet. There are still some areas where I have significant challenges, but we're taking it one step at a time and recognizing that things actually do take time to change. So even that workforce thing, I think that with continual work, we are going to get there. And let me just give a quick example. I have to continually, when I go into my building, when I get into the elevator, I have to continually tell people, you can actually come in the elevator with me. And I am like, why are you, the door is open, what floor are you going on? And they are totally surprised that they can literally come into the elevator with me, because that was a problem before. So, we have to really honestly do a deep dive and figure out why people are behaving the way they're behaving, and then make the shifts so that we can encourage them to change. So no, you can't come up into my office. You can't literally ride the elevator with me. It is not that serious. We are all human beings here. Yes, I'm secretary, but yes, you can actually come into the elevator. And that causes a shift in how people think.
Okay, I take pride in listening to you on that, and I'm happy, and I wish you the best. I have seen great public servants, and I've seen those who have not, they're not interested in change. But we still have to try.
Exactly. We have to try.
Work closely with whoever want to work with us and to produce. And put the citizens or the particular, I don't want to say clients, but the people who you outreach with,
But I have found that the vast majority of the public servants who I work with, they want to work. They just need to be given the tools. They just need to be given the environment that allows them to work. They want to work.
Yeah. I want to get quickly to the Tobago, to the TRHA, the role of the TRHA, and how we function how they function, and looking at primary health care first, what is involved, and if we're making any serious dent in that areas. First, the role of the TRHA,
right,
and how you function with them. The previous secretaries who had serious issues and thing between TRHA and secretary. How it works now, and what's the function?
The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, which is the arm of the Tobago House of Assembly, is the entity that is responsible for policy as it relates to healthcare. So in essence, we pay the TRHA to implement the services that they provide. The services include primary care, which is really the health centers and so forth, secondary care, which are the hospitals, and we are actually we are designing a kind of a in between both of those, some of our centers will actually be. When I'm ready to talk about it, Gerry, I will talk about it. When it is ready, we will announce. So I'm not saying anything
So
else
kind of
about
hybrid
it.
health
A kind of
centers?
hybrid kind of thing to figure out how that works. Yes. So the idea is the policy is there. Work through the board of directors of the Tobago Regional Health Authority. There is the CEO and the executive of the TRHA that then implements what needs to be done. One of the things we did was when we actually moved to that new building in Glen Road, we also moved the head office for the Tobago Regional Health Authority.
Oh, yes,
So
yes.
everything is right
One
there.
building.
It's one building. So you're coming to TRHA, you're coming for social protection, and you're coming for health. All of it is in that one building. That means if there is something that we need to chat with the CEO with, is literally right downstairs. Come upstairs, I come downstairs, we can have that kind of conversation. We have these meetings continually whenever we need to discuss things. I must say though that I understand why previous secretaries did some of the things that they did. I don't agree with what they did, and I don't agree with how they implemented some of the things that they were trying to do, but I can understand some of the frustrations, for example, that they were having and why they did some of the things that they did. But of course, because I think about things a little differently and I have a process way of thinking, my aim is to get to a point of doing it in a way that works. So that is what we've been trying to implement, some of the shifts in a way that actually works. I'm extremely proud of the board that has been in place. They've been doing quite a lot of work in the background. We recognize that a lot of the deficiencies included us not having some key technical people within
I just got to
the
raise that because to
TRHA.
me that's a very big issue,
It
and
is.
I'm very disappointed that they're taking so long to fill some critical
But that
positions.
is the
Faith.
thing. But that is the thing. If you recognize when you're seeing the ads, for example, that's coming out of the TRH, it's all of these different specialists, and we're pushing it out. And you would see a month or two later an ad again come out with some of those same positions again, simply because we did not get people to come in, we did not get people to send in their application, and that kind of thing. And that has actually been one of our biggest holdbacks. It's really identifying people who want to come to Tobago with these specialties. So we've been going out and actually finding critical people and saying, you have to come back. You may not want to come back as an employee full-time, but you need to come back and do this particular thing. And we would actually be making some of those announcements as it relates to cardiac
specialists
surgery,
who come to do specific
cardiologists, and that kind of stuff. Which is
And
why,
that is
for
something you have to
example,
be very careful about, and I'm just not sounding a warning or trying to be alarmist, but some of these people are trying to exploit the TRHA or the THA because they come in with some extremely. I saw somebody send me something the other day. Somebody want $90,000 4 times a month to come here. And 4 times a month, you want to come here and you want to charge people $92,000 a month. You can't encourage that kind of thing, Faith. You can't encourage that.
and that is why. So when you I am now saying to you what my administrator said to me, because you started by saying you are actually very disappointed that we have not been able to fill some of these positions. But you have also now identified some of the challenges about why it is difficult to fill some of these things, because some of the requests that we are getting are really just outrageous, and we have to rethink how we work this. So we've been, because it is taking a little bit more time to fill some of these actual
The specialist
positions. What we've been doing is looking at projects instead. So we'll do a project. So for example, the cataract surgery was a project. We come in, we know that we are
Take full
hiring
credit for
you
that.
to do this specific service. This is the contract we negotiated with you to do this. You come in, you do what you have to do. With the cataract, for example, it also included the equipment. So they actually brought in top class equipment to come in and do it.
That equipment will go unused for a long while.
No.
What plans you have to put that to use, Faith?
But that is why.
Immediately.
But that is
in
why.
some warehouse.
It is.
Some warehouse somewhere. That's going to be something to rust
Mr.
and all kind of thing.
Mr. Mcfarlane, you need to stop listening to when people just tell your story. Let me tell you, I warn you there. You need to stop listening. You see, when people just tell your story.
How long the equipment here? Tell me the truth.
You need to. Part of it is the equipment was actually used in the surgeries. You hear me?
Part of it
was actually used in the surgeries. The
Because of the
surgeries are actually wrapping up. This week will be the last week of
think
this
maybe
second.
tomorrow?
Yes, this week would be the last week
I
of
think
the
so.
actual surgeries happening, and we would have completed about 1,300 surgeries between this year and last year when we did it. And the aim really is we actually had local doctors and nurses working with the foreign ones who came in to ensure that we can continue doing the
Transfer
service
of
after.
knowledge.
Exactly. We've had other similar, simple projects. Last year or earlier this year, we had a Don't Fear the Smear, which was a pap smear thing. So for an entire month, we actually said to women all over, we're coming to your village, to your district, come and get your pap smear. Even on a Saturday and Sunday, we partnered with private entities to do it and so forth. So we recognize that until we can get the service back up to what I think is optimal service, we're going to keep doing these kinds of projects to get people what they need in the shortest space of time.
All right. I applaud you for that cataracting as a boss program. But, I couldn't, and it boggles my mind to see how two persons dealing with ophthalmology paid so well and do very little in terms of surgery. And when people, I have relatives who go to the clinic for 2 years, can't get their surgery done until your people come. And before your people come, they have to pay $10,000 for the same people to go and do it privately.
So Mr. Mcfarlane,
these are the things. And when we talk, I get too emotional about it, because you're dealing with people who are not well, unhealthy people, who need service and professionals. And I get very upset about it, and you have to forgive me. I hope you listeners do too. Because we cannot have a system where people, you're talking about recruitment of people, critical people, and you have so many doctors running over each other. You ever go to...
let me just say this
situation here. You want these specialist services, but on the other hand, you have one set of doctors.
People.
So
let me just say this. Let me just say this. So let me say this, Mr. McFarlane. Let me say this, Mr. McFarlane. The fact that you have just said that means, though, and I'm saying it to Tobagonians, when you start hearing or you start seeing those on the other side complain about fate firing people, know why. So anytime you hear a story about anybody going on suspension, anybody being sent on vacation, anybody being sent home, come back to this conversation and know that if it happening is because we have actually gone through those processes and we're doing what we need to do. I will say no more. The chair of my RHA is a good lawyer. I will say no more on that.
Oh, Lord. A basic thing, Well, anyway, I'm dealing with secondary healthcare, but we just want to get to primary healthcare and then get rid of that issue because.
But that's the thing. I know that. So this is it. Everything that we do in the healthcare system feeds into each other. Primary healthcare is what happens in the health centers, and it also includes health education and that kind of thing, which we need to actually beef up quite a bit more. Part of beefing it up has to do with how the organization is structured. So, for example, the TRHA just actually hired a communications unit. They did not have a communications unit unit for quite a while, and it is the communications unit that would actually work with the doctors and nurses and so forth, go out, do some of this health education that we need to do. It also means that we need to partner again closer with what is happening at Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, because we have an entire office of the County Medical Officer of Health that also has a health education component that will be working together to push out a lot of these things. So it's really a matter of, I can boast of taking the last 2 years to really lay the foundation for a lot of these things that you will see being pushed out shortly.
Let's go for a quick break. And when we come back, we have to continue this discussion.
Certainly.
Primary health care, and we have to move to secondary health care quickly. Watching my time here, boy.
I actually think we need to talk about social protection as well. So we shouldn't spend too much
time. We go for a
time.
quick break, fellas. Take a break now, and let's come back and continue the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we back from the break, and Faith, you know, there's so much issues and so much time left there. I want us to just have a little discussion quickly on primary health care before we go to another big issue, Roxborough Hospital.
Right. So
let me just wrap up this thing. There's so much issues: chronic disease, cancer, autoimmune disease, diet, immunization, disease protection. All these things are critical part of primary health care, and they need to be much more should be done. And I personally feel, I'm no trained specialist in these areas, but I understand how they work and they function and what it should be. And I feel there need to be greater effort to be placed on outreach by the people in primary health care, and not just sitting down and wait until these people come to them at stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, and then you can't do nothing about it.
So if you listen to what I said before, a big chunk of it is creating an organization that can do that. A big chunk of what you just spoke about includes communicating with the communities. And as I said, the TRHA actually got a communications unit that will work very closely with the doctors and nurses and everyone else there to do exactly what you are doing. But it is something that is taking time. The communications folks just got there, literally, not even a month. Not even a month, just got there, and that is the kind
just
of
running on the job.
And that is they are doing that.
And the learning curve and the implementation curve is very steep.
Very steep.
And them know that.
Yes.
They're supposed to know that.
Yes, certainly. So
we will be following up on that, but there's quite a lot of things to be done in that area that I'm not happy with, and I feel greater outreach, maybe with the communications people and different programs, and something like prostate.
So, but you know what? So just now, the thing is, one of the things that I learned is that sitting on the outside of this allows you to think about things in a way that you need to shift when you are on the inside. So, for example, I know that you were on the board of the TRHA for some time, and it is proof that even at this point, that it is kind of difficult to even implement, because even when you were on the board, it was difficult to implement some of these things because there were so many other things that needed to happen before you could get to there. But as I said before, it will happen soon. We also have to remember the fact that we came in to this with COVID, and COVID basically shifted how we thought about doing a lot of things, and we now have to do almost like a recalibration coming out of COVID to get back into that. So our social workers and so forth are actually now going back into the communities, into the health centers, and then pushing into the communities specifically to go and do quite a lot of what you are talking about. It is a kind of synergy. Yeah, that is all being built back into the system now. And given that we are really coming out of COVID and we are now recalibrating, because that is what needed to happen. Recalibration. So let's talk about Roxborough really quickly. Roxborough is still, in my mind, a health facility. It is a health facility that is doing, and I say health facility versus hospital because we have not gotten to the point where we have inpatient services just yet. I'm hoping that by very early 2024, we would have the inpatient services. If you've been looking at the,
what could justify?
if you,
that
but
taking so
listen,
long?
listen to me, and that is, listen to me. If you look at all of the advertisements that have actually been coming out of the TRHA, 90% of those are actually what we need to have the inpatient services at Roxborough. So if you notice, you're not seeing any of them for some of the lower level things, but you're seeing it for specialists. And it's really been, there has been a full drive to ensure that that happens. So we have had outpatient services, that's been going on, continues to happen. We have had A&E services, so that continues to happen every day. You can go to accident and emergency from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So the last piece right now is just the inpatient services. And I have been told, the CEO actually came to my office a couple of weeks ago with a full matrix about all of the positions, what happened, how many applications we have, and that kind of thing, with the aim of by very early next year, we would be able to say, yes, we actually have inpatient services happening. It is taking way too long in my mind, but it is happening, and we have to learn to allow the things to work when they are working. It is happening now, so we're just going to allow it to happen, to allow it to work in the timing that makes sense for it to work.
Sometimes even with all the specialists, I see some what is really needed is a restructuring, restructuring
But
of the
Mr.
whole
Mcfarlane,
HR
why
thing.
all you didn't restructure when you was on the board then?
We did some restructuring and we did hire some people and so on, but we didn't have the kind of problems that I see right now. I mean, you have another hospital.
I don't know that is really the case, because a lot of these problems, when I talk to some of the employees, when I talk to some of the people on the ground, a lot of these problems have been long-standing problems for over a decade. Have been problems.
Some of them have been
So a lot
long-standing
of them
issues.
have been very, very long-standing issues that we are working on resolving. But as I said, one of the way I think is we actually do deep dives and working to fix them as we go along. So for example, one of the next areas that we are hoping to work with, and you may not even notice it now, a year from now you would probably see a shift going into accident and emergency and actually looking at the process in accident and emergency to see where
That is one of the things I have here listed.
where are the hang-ups, what is causing the delay, what do we need to implement, are there specific diagnostic tools that are having the keep back, and that kind of thing. And as I said before, in some of these things, the public will not notice that there is a huge improvement immediately. What you may recognize is that a year from now, a year and a half from now, you go to accident and emergency, and it was only after you realize you did not spend a long time there and that it is working better. So that is the way we are working through the system to fix these things. But I also recognize how if you try to do everything all at once, you end up doing nothing. So we're taking the strategic steps, one step at a time, to get them to where it needs to. And that's one of the reasons why we are really pushing Roxborough as well, because if we push Roxborough to be full up and running, that would take some of the burden off of Scarborough, and then we can work through some of the other issues that are happening at Scarborough.
I'm thinking that you have maybe about 6 anesthesists, whether it's a registrar level or specialist level or something at Scarborough, the last time I checked. So on, why an anesthetist can be sent to Roxborough, transferred to Roxborough, or assigned to Roxborough on certain days. There are certain specialists that down here, sometimes for all kind of foolish.
So you say all of that you're going through and you're trying to work out in your head, we actually have people who are working it out now. Stop hurting your head, Gerry. Stop hurting.
All right, okay. What we could do, you talk about A&E. I was so depressed some time ago, not too long ago, a 92-year-old woman fall down home, but she had, and they had she in A&E for 14 hours. Waiting on this doctor to say this, waiting on this next specialist to say this, and so on. 14 hours, head bust, You know, the turnaround in E&E had to be improved somehow. And I'm glad they started working on it because you always get issues from time to time. Another interesting thing that I want to discuss really is the drop in birth rates in Tobago.
Right, so we
I've
actually,
known
we don't
some
know.
years ago, I know it used to be like 1,200 a year annually.
So there has been a drop in birth rate, and we are not sure exactly what is causing that. That is actually something that is on the cards that needs to be studied. I will not come here and try to proffer as to why I think it is happening, because that's just not how I am. I don't just talk for talking's sake. But it is something that we have noticed, and it is something that we need to do a full deep dive with. And now the other side of that we are also seeing, and I see it specifically from the being in charge of social protection, is that we still have quite a number of people who are having children, and then they come for support because they can't afford the children that they're having. So we need to figure out what exactly is happening. And when we are making a push to try to bring back up the birth rate, we have to do it in a way where it actually makes sense financially,
But when we were
socially
births
for
a
the
year,
for the
there were
division.
people like that as well.
Yes, I know, and that's why I'm saying we need to figure out exactly what is happening. There may be some fertility-related issues that we need to look at, but it is something that needs to be studied. And
There is a fertility. I can tell you that there is a fertility issue. You hear people complain and talk to you about this issue. Ovarian dysfunction and other fertility issues. Polycystic ovaries is a big issue. Breast cancer increase is phenomenal and frightening. Prostate issue on the other side for men is another big issue. What are we doing? What are we eating? Is there any research? I know you don't want to come here and assume different things. You know, when I was a young boy, Dr. Patrick had a major study in
the prostate cancer
in Plymouth. It started in Plymouth, Bethesda, and it spread almost to the whole island.
It's the whole island that did it.
You know, and that came up with so many different issues that people had. Just by a little blood test and checking your pressure and the thing and so on. And that led it, you know, and people, I was there with Dr. Patrick as a young boy trying to find the names of this man, because we know people in Plymouth by particular names.
By nickname.
You know, and so on. The other fellow named Black Snake, you know, we know him as Black Snake. Man come in and tell me, who is this person, Gerry? We need to find this person. And so we can't find the person, but we know them by a particular name. Afterwards, they kind of people who had serious issues and they're big and strong and so on, you know, walking about the place. The same issue you had when you were doing the immunization for COVID. You know, people there looking good and strong. When they're going to take the pressure or you take something, you find the thing blowing up through the roof. We need to check on those birth or what you call those things again, fertility issues, prostate or ovarian dysfunction issues. So many people have these issues. We have the specialists on the island to deal with it, and even dealing with that is one aspect. But have we done the research to see what have been contributing? Is it things that we eat? Is it the processed foods or something? We have to get to that seriously, you know, Faith.
We do need to get to it, and it's just a matter of time. As I said before, one of the things I have learned is that if you try to do everything at once, you end up doing nothing. So it is. There are actually individuals who have reached out to us who are willing to help with some of these things. So it's really just a matter of doing the implementation and making the announcements when they are about to happen.
There are student, young doctors who may be coming back and like to do research and so on, you know, get them in that kind of thing. I think one of the secretaries I remember in the past had some doctors just doing something on cancer, you know, had a whole database on the different types and so on.
Yeah.
And one of them called me the other day, Mr. Mcfarlane, you know, there are issues of cancer in the penis on the island, you know, and so on. And I get so frightened. I say, what is this? You know, but you need to get data. You need to get information of what is happening on the ground. If even you survey, say, 20% of the population or people of a certain age, you know, to get a more finite information about a particular situation is quite important. Let's talk a little bit Breast cancer is another thing.
So can we do this though? Because I think we've been focusing quite a bit on the health issues, and I think unfortunately that means that a lot of our social protection issues are not dealt with. Unfortunately, some of the questions that you're asking me, I honestly do not have the answer because we do not have the research. We know that it needs to be done, and it is going to happen. But in social protection, it's important to also highlight some of the shifts that we've made and some of the changes that we've made and some of the changes that we will make coming shortly. Very proud of the fact that we actually have a shift in how we do our social working. So we have the
Social protection comes under you.
Yes, it
your
is.
ministry, your division.
Yes, remember it is
The
health.
division.
It is health, wellness, and social protection. The wellness part deals with the public health and what they do going out and cleaning the roads and that kind of stuff. And the social protection part deals with the social workers and providing grants and that kind of thing. Now, while I am
Which
there,
include the food card.
which include the food card. So while I'm there, though, let me make one distinction that I think needs to be very, very clear. I spoke about it in the house last week or week before, whenever we were there. Tobago needs to understand that there are two groups of people who do social welfare or social work as it relates to grants and so forth. There's a social welfare department that is responsible for things like your disability grant and your old age pension and those things. Those things are actually, even though they are housed in the division, as in the same building, those things are actually being managed by the Ministry of Social Development. So when you come into the building, and I get complaints all the time about, your pension or your disability or even the red food cards that people have and so forth, those are actually managed by the ministry. The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, we are the ones that manage the other kinds of grants that you may have. So if your house got damaged and we need to put you up for 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, we do that kind of rental assistance. If again there was a fire and you need to purchase a fridge or a stove or whatever, that kind of thing, we do that kind of social protection. So those are the things that are under the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. We also have like the REACH grant, where we give small individuals who are clients who are REACH, Realization for Economic Achievement, where we give a small grant to individuals who have a business, because the idea is you may be coming in because you need help with food or rent or whatever, but if we can push you into doing a business, then you will not need to be a social protection client anymore, because we have gotten you to the point of you running your own business, that kind of thing.
So it's taking you out of the
dependency, exactly, and giving you, so the idea is we give you the seed grant, you're able to build. If you need more money because you have developed and built, you can then go over to BDU or one of the others to get funding that way. We started doing case conferencing, so if a client comes in and we recognize that this client may need help from other divisions, the social workers from all of the divisions in THA, so whether it's settlements, education, or wherever, they actually sit in a room together and discuss the clients, so that we know that we're not sending you the client, go over to education to do this or go over to settlements to do this. Once you come into one of these buildings, we pull everybody together and we have those meetings as well to ensure that the client is seen holistically. That is something new that we've been doing for the last year or so. So it's not that new, it's about a year we started implementing that. And I think that has actually helped quite a bit with the social protection part.
I like the approach and the philosophy behind that.
Certainly. Now, one of the things I want to highlight, though, because I want to say it publicly so that when my social workers start asking the clients to do it, it is not something that is strange. We recognize that we needed to actually have the clients take a little bit more responsibility for some of the issues that are a part of their problem. So we are, for example, having serious challenges identifying places for people to stay, because we've had clients in the past who we rent the place for the clients, and the clients and whoever mash up the people in place. So we now, and I'm saying it here so that people know, I actually have my legal department looking at a social contract that we are going to have every client who we provide support to sign that says you need to be responsible. Know that if you mash up the people and them story and you get put out, you can't come back for we to try to find a next place for you because it's you that mash up the people and them story. Know that if you are coming to us because you need assistance with food, because we do have the temporary food card, the green food cards, know that a part of the process would be you having to do financial management training with us, or you having to do we help you seek jobs and that kind of thing. So that social contract is one of the things we are going to be implementing shortly. So know that once you are coming to the division because you need social support, we need you to also take your responsibilities seriously to ensure that we work together to bring you out of that situation. So we would be helping you with getting your resume up and going, helping you to find a job. You cannot just go to the job and cuss and walk away and then come back and say you don't have a work, so you need your rent paid. No, we cannot continue doing that. We need to ensure that we have our clients in a space where they can no longer be dependent on us. And until we get there, we will continually just having these large volumes of clients just coming. So that's one of the policies that we are also shifting that I wanted to talk about specifically with so when you see it, when my social workers tell you that this is part of what you need to sign, it is just part of what you sign. It's just one of our new policies.
I imagine with this issue of food cards in the hands of people who don't really need it.
So
I see professionals. And I want to take a picture of me, a professional.
So I have a question.
Professional public servant.
Is it a green food card or a red food card?
I think it was a red food card.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad you said that because the red food cards are not administered by the Tobago House of Assembly. The red food cards are administered by the Ministry of Social Development, and they have their own set of policies, their own set of rules. The green food cards are the ones that are administered by the Tobago House of Assembly, and you have to come in and actually do a full assessment. We are reworking the policy now to allow additional people to be able to get the food card because we recognize that there's a gap because we have the red one is there that is supposed to be the long-term food card that you get from ministry. The green one, which is the THA one, is supposed to be the emergency.
So you have
card.
no control over what the red or the green card can purchase?
Listen, I have no control over what happens with the red card at all.
Who gets it?
Or who gets it or anything like that. So for example,
with your green card now.
But with the green card, it is the workers within the division that are doing the assessment and making sure that what the people who come in and the people who actually walk out with a card are the people who actually need the card. I have even said to my colleagues, as secretaries, assistant secretaries, assemblymen, and so forth, send us the names of the people. You will come in and get the assessment done. But faith.
What about people who are not mobile? They get somebody to do
No, they do that, yeah, and they can go out. So when we say come in, it's not a physical come in all the time.
It's being in touch.
But it is being in touch, and they actually go. Because for example, my social workers are not in the office 50% of the time.
Beautiful.
They are out. They are not in the office.
This is a thing that we continue chatting. I never know all these nice things are happening.
Exactly.
And transformation is taking place.
is happening. Transformation is happening. So you will never hear about any of our secretaries.
So what they can do with the green card?
They can go to their specific grocery. No, their specific groceries. But when you get the card, you get a list of the groceries that they'll honor it and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Of course, you cannot purchase things like you cannot purchase alcohol and cigarette and that kind of stuff, but anything else that is in the grocery you can purchase. We are moving swiftly. Hopefully by next year, closer to the end of the year, we will get there where we will be moving to full digital. So all of our grants would actually be digital, so that way we would have a greater reach. We actually have some consultations and so forth happening now for us to design the digital platform, so you wouldn't even need to come in. If you need to send your ID card, you could literally just take the picture, send it in, and we will do the processing. There's the social worker will still come home by you to see what you and that kind of thing.
Look, you think I continue this interview, boy?
That is coming shortly. I am hoping, I am praying, I'm working with a wonderful IT team, with the social protection components, all of us working together to ensure that we roll this out. It must happen, and I'm saying it big and bold, and I hope all the IT people listening to me. It must happen next year. It had to happen next year.
And let me say early next year, no?
It may not happen early next year. No, I need to also be realistic, because we are basically starting from scratch. There are some systems out there that have some kind of kinks, so we actually are going to have someone design a full system for us.
IT professional helping
Yes,
with
yes,
this?
yes, 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 of course.
And I'm saying also that you can use the Tobago Information Technology Limited.
Those people are also part of the discussion, my dear sir.
All right, okay. Good news, good news. Yeah, I like to hear this good news, or these approaches that have been taken to change things and make things better. Where my list? I have a little thing here with clinical appointments. Faith, oh gosh. The other day I almost cried. I met a senior retired public servant with his bag and thing, and he can't help himself, and they have him waiting out there for the longest while. When I see the man, I just barely hear the voice, Mr. Mcfarlane.
Yeah.
I just barely hear the voice when I pass in. When I look back, I see this man, competent public servant, hard-working former public servant, sit down. I mean, I could qualify the point that he's public servant, but how I know him, And the man tell me here since 6 o'clock this morning, he waiting in this clinic and nobody ain't calling him, 1 and 2 people going out and so on, and he ain't eat nothing.
Yeah, because he have to go in with having not eaten.
Gosh.
And that
that was 11 o'clock in the day, feet. I had to go inside there and say, nurses, all help this man now. Notwithstanding, he's a retired public servant who did work in this assembly. Well, let's try and help this man now. This man outside, he's hungry, not feeling well, and so on. You know what he'll tell me? Hi, he here still? What kind of thing, what kind of system is that?
So,
that somebody go forget a patient?
So, the same way the social protection component is being digitized, the same push is happening within the TRHA. I don't know if people recognize that currently the TRHA is partially digitized. So when you go with your medication, when you go with your prescription, you realize that the pharmacists, they're on their computers typing in whatever and that kind of stuff. So that part is putting in the record there. That part of it is digitized. If you go to the lab, you will recognize that you're seeing them there in front of the computers. That part of it is digitized. The part that is not digitized is the everyday walking around, doctor seeing patient kind of thing. And we are actually doing the background information now, to the background research and so forth, to see what it would take to get us to the point where the doctor would no longer be walking around with a clipboard, but will have a tablet or a phone or whatever it is and do it. And that way, for example, you no longer have to deal with the hard copy medical records, because a big part of the problem is half of the time
they can't find
the file. So you have to sit down there until they find the file. And the reason that that person was probably still sitting there is because the file was probably not on the stack as listed as being there, because they would have gone through the file and realized that the file, his file is still sitting there. So all of these things are part of what we are doing to ensure that we don't have repeats of things like that just now. It would also include shortly just now that somebody like that may not even need to come to the hospital, but can do telemedicine. We're not there yet, but that is where we're heading to. So, you may not even need to come to the hospital for your clinic, depending on what you need to do. But you could have your phone or have your children or whatever set it up for you. You talk to the doctor. If we realize that we actually need to see you, then we could work out either you coming or coming to you. But again, that is not going to be next week kind of story, but we're heading in that direction.
But can we do something right now, almost immediately? And I don't think that is not rocket science. To get 100 or 80 something people who are to come to say medical clinic, and you give everybody the same time.
Now
tell me what madness is this?
Now that is something that is actually shifting. And I
Up
know
to quite recently, I don't know if it is, well, it hasn't started yet then.
so it is shifting, and there are two sides of it. Because people are used to the everybody come for 6 o'clock story. There are examples in Trinidad, for example, where your appointment is 10, but because you're used to for the last 10 years coming 6 o'clock, you still come 6 o'clock. And that is a thing that we need to shift as well. So right now, we actually do have a thing where people do have bulk time, where you come
Bulk appointment.
bulk appointment. So 10 people come for 8. 10 people then come for 9, 10 people come for 10 kind of thing. But because we are so used to everybody coming at the same time, we end up with the whole everybody coming for 6
No,
o'clock. and that
somebody
kind of
told me they were the medical thing, and everybody got their appointment. When they checked, everybody got their appointment. I think it was for 8 o'clock or some cheapness like that. Every single soul, 80 something of them or 40 something, can't remember the figure, but everybody did. So
Yeah.
people come there for this particular time. They say, look, let me try and come early and so on to see if I could get in
Get
case
there
somebody here
early.
come in this thing, and everybody pile up there. I mean, that ain't taking rocket science to address, man. That is punishment.
Certainly.
That is punishment. Just somebody can say, listen, let me do block time or something. We started that when I was on the board. People come for certain times to do different things. You know, and sometimes you have some foolish excuse that the expert who coming from Trinidad didn't get a flight, and
Yeah.
they know that since the day before, you have make no effort
Calls.
to call these people who you have their phone number and their next of kin phone number to tell them, well, no clinic. The man can't come and miss a flight for whatever reason, whether it's a fictitious reason or you have a big surgery to do and you have big money to make, so he forgetting his Tobago clinic and he dealing with the thing down there. Let me just call the people now, just the courtesy. Take up the phone, call the people and say, listen, no clinic today, the man can't come. Or the woman can't come, or the specialist can't come. These are some simple things that I think we could do to get on. But another good story, one of my good stories is to commend whoever is responsible. For a couple of years now, we have the service at oncology has been exemplary.
Yeah.
Exemplary. I have not heard one single person, and I've been dealing with all these people from time to time. People will call me. There's a lady who goes there, a lady in Boku, a lady Joseph. Oh gosh, she can't talk, she can't sing enough praise about these people in oncology. When you go there, they greet you in a particular way. They know you by name. If they don't know your name, can I help you
Yeah.
in this positive way? You don't feel like you're bothering them. They're just willing to help. A total attitude. And I'm saying, and to some extent, that is being done at dialysis. You know, until they were disrupted by some chemical or some things in the thing, dust or mold.
So
or
let
something.
me say this. Let me say this.
That must be used as an example
Let me say
feat.
this. Let me say this. In every single department, as in clinical department, in the hospital or even in the health centers, we actually have some of the best employees. We have some of the best doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, whatever they are. We have some of the best. The TRHA, I even boasted the minister, me and Kewa, he said the TRHA is the best RHA in the country. As much as we complain about a lot of things, the TRHA is actually the best in the country. And in many instances, there are systems that are not in place that causes us to not provide the best service. So even though we have the best people, if the machine that they need to use is not working, then you will have to sit there for a couple hours because it's only one machine instead of 5, kind of thing. And that is the kind of analysis that we are doing to determine what is really causing the problem. Even some of these where you would consider attitudinal problems, where somebody seems to just be in a bad mood or that kind of thing. Those are the kinds of deep dives we're having. What really is the issue? And you may recognize that this person there may be one supervisor, for example, there's a challenge between those two that is causing that kind of thing. So I am just cautioning us and even cautioning myself to be careful with how we think about what these problems are, because these problems have been long-standing problems for decades even. And if we are not careful, we will just run into them being frustrated and not necessarily solving the problem. And that is what we are spending time doing. And that is why it is these things that have been festering for years and years and years you cannot expect them to be fixed in a year, because they really have been festering for a long time, and it is taking effort to do them. But we're getting there. I have the best employees. We have the best. The TRHA is the best. Me and care what nobody say. We are the best. And yes, there are examples that we seem to not be having challenges with. And even the areas where we are having challenges, I know that it is not just an individual, just wicked and bad mind kind of story, but there are systematic problems that we need to treat with, and that is how I am focusing, and that is how the board is focusing, and that is how the executive of the TRHA is focusing. And we will get to the point where a year from now, 2 years from now, you will just recognize that you are not hearing the complaints. And that is how you know you are seeing changes.
It's just that I agree with you, but it's just that I can't agree with your time frame to get these things. I just too busy.
And sometimes when we run
I'm not saying
fast,
that we must
please
rush these
again,
things,
no, we
but
don't
some
get
of these
anything
things
done.
just need a decision to make in how you will restructure this thing. I mean, clinical
Jerry,
appointment.
but
Oh God,
Jerry,
you want a year to organize that?
But Jerry, as I said before, you also, having been on the TRHA board, also
We made attempts to
understands
stop
that are
that
some of
thing
these
and
things, and
improve the
then
time at ENA and all that
and
kind
then
of
what
thing. We took
happened?
steps to deal with that.
And then what
Maybe
happened?
the system just fall apart.
And that is my
And
point.
that is part of the problem.
That
You
is
need to
exactly
monitor
my
and
point.
make the system, whatever change you make, maintained or get better.
And
that is supposed to be the objective.
and that is my point. I want a situation where, after we have identified what the problem is and we have put the fix in, we also put in the thing that causes the fix to not dwindle after a while. So this is going to be a long-term fix that actually works, because we have put in the M&E systems, we've put in the quality, we've put in all of these things, and that takes time.
Yeah. And we need to follow some of the processes
Yes.
and situations done by oncology, and even to some extent dialysis. Oncology follow up the patients even when they're home, you know. You could call them from home, and a patient home with a serious problem, call oncology. If they ain't come,
But you have to
go to the
also
hospital,
look at the
you know?
volume of patients that oncology
That is
has.
quite true,
That
but
is
still-
a very
but still,
because
it
if an
shows-
entire unit has 20 patients versus another unit where a clinic have 80 people, then it is not realistic to expect the same kind of one-on-one contact you have with 20 patients that you will have with
But the
80,
people who-
given the circumstances.
people
So
who
all of
facilitating
those
the
are
80
things you need
patients,
to think.
there may not be 1 or 2 people there. You have a number of people to deal with them, you know. But I think we need to really look at structuring just systems to start with, and procedures that to make the thing much more efficient. That should be a
Certainly.
measure to start with there. Let me see how we could improve these things from simple, some basic things to be done, and let me see if we could work on that.
Certainly.
And anyway, Faith, I just want to thank you very much. This has been one of the interviews that I've been really looking forward to, and I really like them, and I'm interested in the part where you talk about you have diaspora relations and investment and so on, especially as your role as Deputy Chief Secretary. I hope you'll keep me, we'll be in touch with respect to those areas, because my phone keeps ringing about different things that a lot of people want to do, and I was busy there trying to work out a system that we could all be in touch, and have virtual meetings on different issues. So I would like to continue with that and with them, and to see how that could dovetail
together.
into what you're doing and so on. It's very, very important, especially now. Money is a problem. We can't always look like beggars going to the central government for funding. We have to find ways to sustain ourselves, bringing in investment and bringing in people who can contribute. Volunteerism is a big thing in the world today. A lot of people want to come and just volunteer their services for nothing, So thanks very much. Really appreciate your time.
My
I
pleasure
hope we
being
could.
here.
I
My
hope we
pleasure
could have the
being here.
pleasure of meeting from time to time, like what we used to meet before. I mean, the politics and your responsibility should keep us apart.
Well, I have to manage my time.
Very well. Folks, this brings us to the end of this program. Tomorrow is a big day for us here on Beneath the Surface. We have the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Fali Chavez Agustin. And we're trying to see if we could get 2 hours to have this discussion. I know that wouldn't be enough time, but it's going to be a very exciting moment for us here at Tobago, at Tobago Updates. So look forward to that tomorrow. And Faith, thanks again, and let us stay in touch. And when we meet next time, you must tell me that, this place, we have better clinical support in one of these clinics, People come in and they're happy, they're not forgetting anybody in the hallway or in the thing and so on, Whenever we meet, we must have a nice story to tell.
Certainly. That is my aim. That is why I'm here, and that is why I'm enjoying
Any
doing what
closing
I'm doing.
remarks?
I would like to thank Tobago, thank first the Electoral District, Belgan Glamorgan, for having confidence in me and voting for me to get me to this position. Thanks to all of my staff at Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Thanks to the TRHA, everybody, all of us. I absolutely appreciate the hard work that you all have been doing. Don't think it's not noticed. It is noticed, it's loved, and it's appreciated, and together we are going to be able to treat with all of these issues. And just now it's taking time, but I know that we all have the technical capacity that's needed to get us to that point. So I just want to thank you all for allowing me to lead in that regard, and we will continue. Also, those staff in the office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, thank you so much for being a part of it. And yes, we had so much fun for Tobago Day Sports and so on. Really excited. Thank all of you for participating in that as well. It's been a wonderful time.
Yeah, all right. And I just want to say, those specialists who put in some big requests for 4 days a month and so on, I'm going to expose you if you continue making these outrageous suggestions for remuneration. I'm going to expose you all. So review all the claim and all the position before you come and say taking a position in TRG. I am going to be the person who exposes all this. So let me get that straight one time. All right? No 88 or 90 something thousand for 4 days in this Tobago here, while I am around. Okay. See you next week. See you tomorrow. Fali. Chief Secretary Fali. All right, folks. Take care.
Yeah. Hey.